Hello and welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our latest episode. I have the great pleasure of sitting down with Rachel Marshall, the founder of Rachel's Ginger Beer here in Seattle, RGB for short. And we chat about how Rachel started the business and her inspiration for the business, which came from spending about 4 years after college over in Europe in a small ski town south of Munich and taking trips up to the UK and pounding ginger beer and wondering why she wasn't getting drunk off of it. Didn't know what it was, but liked it and had the idea of bringing the concept back to the Seattle area. And she did. And the rest is history. Well, sort of. But she shares with us the origin story of the company, how she built it, the importance of the Capitol Hill Farmers Market that gave her her start. She had a background in the restaurant industry and a lot of relationships that were important to her building the company here in Seattle. Worked at Lark for a bit in Delancey, some great Seattle haunts, and built a great network of mentors and other individuals in that industry that were really key to helping her build this terrific Seattle business. Rachel's born and raised in Washington and has expanded her locations throughout our city. We talk about the current state of her business and getting through the pandemic and her advice for other entrepreneurs here in the city. And we talk about what it means to be a small business owner in the city of Seattle today. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Rachel Marshall, founder of Rachel's Ginger Beer. So you're well overall?
Yeah.
The questions get progressively more difficult for me.
Oh, bring it on. I have COVID.
No, you don't. And how's the business?
Boy, I would say business is good.
Mm-hmm.
If I was like, if you're my therapist, how's business? Business is good.
And
extremely challenging.
Yeah. Is it, I imagine, not even across all your different locations and sort of how things have recovered as we've emerged from the pandemic?
Yeah, really, so we have 6 joints, 6 physical joints, 4 RGB, and then I own 2 dive bars up on Capitol Hill. So just a really wild cross-section all across town. Our flagship store for RGB is right in the middle of Pike Place Market, which was hit hard and early by COVID. University Village, Capitol Hill, 12th and Pine, right across from the East Precinct, which was also hit hard right during the middle of CHOP.
Right in the middle of it.
We were right in the middle, lots of graffiti, lots of personal attacks right on the front of my business. And then about 10 weeks before COVID hit, we opened a really beautiful store directly across from the Spheres at Amazon, and there was no playbook. Who could have predicted? It was such a home run, and my goodness gracious, wow.
Then it came to a screeching halt.
It never even got off the ground.
Yeah.
10 weeks isn't enough to get any kind of momentum, and then just bam, you send 25,000 employees home overnight, and everything just evaporated. So we've just been clawing our way back on that for well over 2 years now.
And I'm sure you saw the news today.
Yes, I was.
Of Amazon's.
Yeah, I thought that was
3-day-a-week return in May.
And it dropped today.
What's your reaction to that?
It's a good start.
Yeah. Have you noticed increases just kind of organically, even though they haven't had that policy in place over the last couple of months? The campus, to me, feels a little bit more alive than it has over the last...
slow increases.
Yeah.
It still really languishes.
Yeah.
And, so many of our friends opened spots down at Amazon 10 years ago, and huge mistake, never do it, don't ever go to Amazon. And I just kind of watched and waited and
that was the message you were getting?
Absolutely, yeah, because so many friends had such a hard time making it down there. Think of
just in the neighborhood. It was as it was developing in the regrade area specifically.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and maybe slightly a little bit further north. Up kind of where Brave Horse Tavern was, up around there.
More in South Lake Union.
And when Amazon finally came to us and we accepted that proposal, it was so exciting because they said, when all this construction is complete, there'll be 25,000 people in 1 square block. And the thing about Amazon land is that is a 5-day-a-week trade area. Let's be honest. Sometimes you get lucky on a Saturday if the Spheres are open and tourists come. but no one's going down there on Sunday. So you really make all your bread and butter Monday through Friday. So it's really important to have 25,000 people walking around that trade area for those 5 days. So to see that all go away is just a giant blow. And 3 days back is encouraging. It's, in my opinion, not enough to make anyone thrive down there. And I'm sure the landlord doesn't want to see businesses close. I also don't think they're in a rush to give handouts to make sure everyone thrives, even though they've been very generous.
Yeah, additional handouts, right? Because they wrote a lot of checks early on in the pandemic.
And they have been absolutely generous and understanding and a really good partner over the last, is it almost 3 years now? It was right after midwinter break. Oh my goodness, that's 3 years.
The time blurs and mushes, right?
Yes.
What's different for your business and you as a leader as we kind of get to the other side of this? Are there things you'll take from what's been a awful experience, certainly for small business owners and others in our community, but are there some silver linings to how the pandemic's affected your business and your leadership?
I would say, first of all, this business is not for the faint of heart. It's extremely difficult. I lie awake at 3 a.m. all of the time. I have, between 60 and 100 employees who depend on me and Adam, my partner in life and business, to pay their bills and to feed their kids and to enjoy life. And we cannot fail. And that's a massive burden to carry around, huge responsibility. So it requires a lot of mindfulness and carefulness and not making flippant decisions and not being irresponsible. And I think huge takeaway is don't be over leveraged. We're really, really careful about we don't have outside investment. We're really careful about not having too much owed to the bank. And as a result, we haven't grown rapidly. We've grown really sequentially so that, when something like COVID hits, we weren't underwater immediately. And that was no mistake. It'd be fun to have 15 RGBs all over the region. And it's also not fun to carry around $10 million of debt and then be in a really bad spot when, I don't know, a global pandemic hits overnight. Right.
So what are your growth plans then? Continue to be slow and steady? What does the future hold for your business?
Slow and steady wins the race.
Especially with kind of the economic uncertainty that we're living within.
That's a little bit alarming too. Does anyone know what the future holds economically? I think we play in a really fun space because about 60% of our top line revenue is alcohol sales. So we sell soda, but we also sell a lot of Moscow mules. And if we all know anything, pandemics and economic downturns don't hit hair, Botox, or alcohol sales.
Right. Recession-proof.
Yes.
Your origin story, I thought, was really interesting in just how your business came to be and how the idea for ginger beer in this market came to you after your trip to spending time in Britain. You started at 28, I have that right? The business at 28?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Wow.
At the Capitol Hill Farmers
Market.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing your research.
And I thought your sort of story of like just showing up you had to be there every Saturday, had to have your stall. There was sort of this, resiliency and perseverance that's built because no matter rain, no matter whatever else you got going on that weekend, you just kind of had to stick to it. And was that farmers market kind of really key to your growth and just getting on your feet and spreading the word among the community and building a customer base? Yeah,
the farmers market community in Seattle is really vibrant. And it's an awesome on-ramp to success when you have no money because of the limited time offer of a farmer's market itself. 4 hours every Sunday, everyone shows up. This city loves a farmer's market. So you can get a massive amount of people walking by your booth for 4 hours. And if you have a really dumb idea, like let's make ginger beer in a cold weather climate.
Did you have to explain to people what it was?
Yeah, the amount of educating was, and still is, a lot. But those farmers market regulars that showed up on day one, I still see those people.
Yeah.
I mean, dozens of them all the time here 11, 12 years later. That's such an incredible on-ramp to success in the farmers markets. But you have to show up. You cannot ever cancel. You've got to be happy and perky. And if it's rainy.
It was a good training ground for you.
Man. Yeah.
Did you ever think of calling it something else?
Every day I think of calling it something else. I
Rachel's something else.
Anything but Rachel's. It's and that was just kind of we had to form an LLC. Like we were totally operating illegally. Had to file articles of incorporation. Couldn't figure out any decent names. So we were like, okay, Rachel's Ginger Beer, and I cringe.
But did you
every
think
time
about
I say it.
not that you not use Rachel, but just like people weren't familiar with ginger beer and they thought it'd be like beer and
yeah, we tried ginger brew, and that was confusing as well. So we just kind of leaned into the education piece.
Yeah.
And when you root beer is also not beer,
there you
but
go.
We call it beer. That's a good kind of equivalency that works for people.
Yeah. You talked about mentors in the Seattle Refined article I read about you from, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I guess it was, and that you sort of begged them to mentor you. Pamela Hinckley with Tom Douglas Restaurants was one that you mentioned. How did you find them, and what were those conversations, and what were you asking of them?
I got involved. I got involved with the chamber. I showed up at farmers markets. If Tom was doing some event at Victor Steinbruck for community revitalization, they said, would you come pour ginger beer? Yes, absolutely.
Are those
no
the
problem.
salmon barbecues he was doing, I think? Yeah.
Those were amazing. Man, the way
those.
that company engages with this community is unreal.
Was that really 15 or so years ago? I guess it would be.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Getting involved, getting in the room, and then having something to offer, being willing to do whatever anyone asks, being willing to ask for help, kind of checking the ego at the door, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a waitress.
And you had a history in the restaurant industry, so was that helpful in kind of getting connected to leaders like Tom and Pamela and others, and sort of knowing who great folks were, great potential mentors were in the food and beverage scene?
Yeah, my cousin, she's 80, so my mom's cousin, whatever. Her name is Susan Vanderbeek, and she was the original chef at Campania and at the Ruins. So when I moved here from Europe, she said, let me put you in touch with Jonathan Sundstrom at Lark and with Tom Douglas. And I didn't know anyone because I'd never lived in Seattle in 2008.
So they're two good people to get connected with.
And Tamara Murphy, she opened doors for me, and that was unbelievable to have those doors open. But then, I don't know, you got to follow through. You got to not be drunk in public. You got to not be a dummy. You got to watch what you say. You got to work hard. You got to clean up after yourself.
Rise to the occasion. Don't be drunk in public.
Yeah. Recognize, my biggest hero in the world is Hillary Clinton. And she would say, if you get a seat at the table, you take that seat at the table, first of all. Always show up prepared with a question, and don't take advantage of the seat at the table. And I take that really, really seriously.
But take the seat.
Take the seat at the table.
Yeah.
Yes. So get involved with DSA. Get involved with the chamber. Be in CDRT. Show up at CDRT. That kind of thing.
Have you gotten blowback as a small business owner from taking a seat, from speaking out? I mean, there was, a few years here in our community where
you've done your research.
I've heard things, and just saw other small business leaders that were vocal on different issues, and then had to deal with a lot of crap. What was your experience like as you've gained public notoriety and you've been at some of those tables and have spoken out on different issues?
I don't regret anything about which I've spoken on. I stand by everything I've ever said. But I have spoken out. I've endorsed people that I really believed in, really awesome progressive candidates running for certain seats in our region, and gotten a lot of blowback on it. And I was not prepared for that. I'm a small business owner and a mom and not a politician, and extremely painful to hear people say some really, really terrible things about me. And, isn't that nice that you can go anonymously on Instagram and trash me? But what it's difficult to stand up for what you believe in, and you have to be prepared. And I was not prepared for that by any means.
What's the advice that you'd give to your 28-year-old self when you were starting that business? What's the advice you might give now, kind of looking back on what you've learned, or to somebody in Seattle today, an entrepreneur that's looking to start a small business?
That's a really great question. Don't underestimate the amount of time it takes to become successful. I think that we in America really elevate and fetishize this. I built to an exit and I exited for 10x in 4 years.
Right.
And now I'm a billionaire. And if you get in it for an exit, and if you think you're going to be wildly successful and wealthy quickly, you're going to burn out before the success comes. It takes a long time. It takes time to build. And just a second to wreck it. It takes time to build things and to build them wisely and to build them not super leveraged and to build relationships and build trust with the community and build trust with the people that work with you. So it takes time, and you have to be willing to put in the time and put in the work. When we were getting this thing off the ground, I remember, friends going to happy hour and me being like, no, I have to do the farmer's market. I have to do the Queen Anne farmer's market on Wednesday afternoon when all of you are going to Ray's Boathouse or whatever. You guys are going to the Dominican Republic on a cool girls trip. No, I have to make ginger beer. No, I have to make ginger beer. No, I have to make ginger beer over and over and over. And there was no other option. There wasn't like maybe I won't make ginger beer today because I'm going to go hang out with my friends, or I want to go to New York for the weekend and go tour pizza restaurants, or
you had to delay gratification.
Yeah, and
I'm terrible at that.
You're terrible at it? Yeah. Me too. It's awful. It's awful. But if there's no other option and you're going to lose your spot at the farmer's market or whatever, then you just put your nose to the grindstone and get it done.
Well, and it seems to be a through thread with a lot of successful small business owners and other entrepreneurs, right? You delay a lot of gratification to put your nose down and get it done and achieve some durability in what you've built.
Yeah.
When did you feel like, okay, now I can go on that trip? I've built this thing. It's in a good spot. Revenue's great. And now I can start to have some fun.
Hasn't happened. Revenue, I'm thrilled with. I'm really proud of what we've built. We have a strong, solid, rock solid business that generates a lot of revenue. But every time that we feel like, okay, we're solid, we're on solid ground with hiring, then 2 key employees quit. And, the thought that next week we're going to go on a family vacation for midwinter break with our 2 little boys who are in kindergarten and 3rd grade. And there's just that dull roar in the back of the mind that someone's not going to show up. The delivery driver isn't going to do the deliveries on Sunday. There's going to be ice on the roads and we're not going to be here. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you got to take the trip because I can't afford to burn out.
Yeah. My dad managed chemical plants when I was growing up, and I remember
him
getting the calls on vacation of, some incident at the plant, and,
Where was that?
All different places, Texas, Canada, Niagara Falls, New York, and because the plant's running 24 hours,
of
right?
Course.
So you don't shut the plant down just because the plant manager's going on vacation. And I remember the look on his face when he'd get those calls, right? And usually it was just when we landed and checked in and arrived and settled down, right? and then something goes wrong.
How did that make your family feel?
Oh, he was, clearly frustrated. Yeah.
Oh, that's so tough.
So I didn't get into chemical plant management.
Why ever not?
Just downtown management, or if we can call it that.
Similar but different.
Yeah, I guess so. Where was I going?
I have a question for you.
Oh, please.
When you think about the state of downtown, and I get the impression a lot of your job right now is centered around recovery downtown. What keeps you up at night?
The conditions of the street and safety, security, folks in need, the fentanyl crisis. We've made some progress, but we've got work to do. Violent crime downtown in 2022 was actually 18% lower than in 2019, which is kind of running counter to the citywide rates and numbers. And property crime was down about that too in the commercial core. So Stewart to Yesler, I-5 to the water. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely in a better spot this year than we were a year ago. And I think, the mayor and others and some new leaders are doing good work, but the fentanyl crisis continues to rage, and there's not an easy or clear answer yet. And I don't think as a community we've got enough attention and urgency and focus on it. I mean, it's a pandemic now. It's a COVID-like pandemic, and it has health and economic consequences. And we can have a revitalized downtown and great restaurants and bars and arts and culture, or we can have a fentanyl crisis, but we can't have both. So that's what keeps me up at night. We need a greater sense of urgency on that issue and take the same playbook that we use to fight COVID as a community and apply it to this fentanyl crisis.
Does it seem like we have the wraparound services that we need?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think we've sort of shorthanded it too as, it's homelessness, but we need to call it what it is. I mean, yes, we have homelessness and we need to get people housed, and there's some good work going on in downtown on that front and bringing a lot of people inside. A lot fewer tents out there today, as I'm sure you see. But the fentanyl crisis is a new set of challenges, and the graph on it looks really scary when you look at overdose deaths increasing over the last 2 years.
Every small business or every business downtown needs to have Narcan and staff that knows how to...
Yeah, I know more and more that are, and our ambassadors and our unarmed security team started carrying it in June.
Oh, thanks for doing that.
And administering it much more frequently than we'd like to. Yeah, I think we've administered it 80 times in the last 6 months or so.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And
That's
more
huge.
and more of our folks are wanting to carry it. We've made it voluntary for them, but most of them are wanting to carry it and wanting to help. So
sure,
yeah.
Your ambassadors aren't social workers or medical staff, are they?
Right.
And yet.
Right. What keeps you up at night when you think of both your business but also our downtown, which you operate in, both at the market and in Amazon's building?
I worry about attracting and keeping major retail tenants downtown.
Yeah.
I worry that the cruise industry might throw their hands up. I worry that big hotels aren't going to want to come here. I'm thinking that my worries might not be founded based on what data is showing downtown. So that's encouraging. I worry maybe that Amazon might finally decide that this is not a welcoming city for them, and they'll say peace out and go to the other side of the lake. But I am extremely encouraged about recovery in Pike Place Market. We're back at 100% 2019 numbers.
That's terrific.
And that's massive.
Yeah.
People are in the market.
Yeah.
We just had an absolutely gangbusters January, and no one has gangbusters Januaries.
I heard that from Mary Baccarella yesterday, as you
Awesome.
know, the ED of the executive director of the market. And market-wide, the traffic in January was great.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
We are so invested in the market. We have a pretty exciting announcement forthcoming.
I heard some rumblings of that.
And we are
Awesome.
in it to win it in Pike Place Market. What
It was
place.
the bright spot in downtown throughout COVID. I mean, it was this little beating heart of activity, and you could always go there, and there were people around, and there was a period where there wasn't, right, and everything was shut down and no vendors or anything, but for the most,
but it was only a few weeks,
yeah,
right?
only a little bit there.
We didn't shutter for more than a few days.
Haven.
And it's, I just talked over you. I apologize.
Go ahead.
I think it's easy to forget just how special Pike Place Market is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I don't know. I lived in Europe for 5 years after college. Adam, my partner, lived there for 13 years after college. That's where we met. And that ritual we had every day of going to the Metzgerei, going to the cheese store, going to the bread store, going to the wine store, was such a part of culture in this small alpine village we lived in south of Munich. That is, to me, what the market is. I can go to Frank's and get my asparagus and go to Le Panier and get a baguette and go to Don and Joe's and go get ginger beer and go to De Laurenti and it's not just a tourist destination. It is such a special place. And especially this time of year when there's a little bit of a lull in tourist traffic, it is a really darn special place.
Yeah, and I think a lot of locals have kind of gotten reacquainted with it,
Gosh, I hope so.
including myself. I mean, I go to the market all the time, but I never used it as a place to shop that frequently.
And do you live downtown?
Yeah, and I've lived downtown for more than 10 years. And
that's so cool.
And it's just recently that I've kind of gotten a little routine of going to Socio's, get some produce, go to Don and Joe's, get the meat, go to De Laurenti's. And it's the most pleasant shopping experience.
And you see the same faces.
Yeah, and they, you just tell them what you want, and they've put it in a bag. I mean, it's
so
just
cool.
the efficiency of it, but also obviously the quality is.
Yeah,
so.
And you're walking through Pike Place. It's all just a little bit
I'm like,
magical.
what took me so long to figure this out? I mean, I live 8 blocks from it, but I mean, I'd always go, but just not. It wasn't part of my routine. And,
totally.
And it's been great.
So. When I started RGB, I was absolutely laser focused on getting into Pike Place Market. I knew this is the best piece of real estate in the whole city. This is what I want. And I knew the rules. You can't open another brick and mortar. Your flagship has to be your Pike Place Market location. So we were really careful not to do anything else. And Dan Buggy, who owns Matt's in the Market, another restaurant person I go way back with, I told him one day, someday I want to get into Pike Place. Fast forward about a year, he called and said, hey, do you still want to get into Pike Place Market? Yes, obviously, it's all I want in the whole world. Okay, keep your phone on. You're going to get a call in about an hour. Seattle's Best Coffee is vacating that space after 24 years. They want to fill it. And they called and said, jump. And I said, how high? And it was maybe 1 week later, I found out I was pregnant with Wyatt. So we were like, let's just do it all. So
new kid on the way, new storefront. Was that your first?
It was.
Yeah, your first brick and mortar, right?
Yeah.
So how did that work though? Because you have expanded, obviously.
Yeah.
But we do have the rules at the market.
Right. So
remind me.
Store number one has to be your shop in the market.
That's right.
And then
right.
expand as big as you want.
Right. You
like
just can't go the other way.
Right.
Yeah. Of course.
Which is
I needed a refresher. I should know that.
Oh, whatever. I love the spirit of the law on that. The letter of the law is a little bit of a bummer because it keeps out some operators that would be really rad and make it such an even more world-class destination than it is. But I understand, they don't want a sunglass hut on every corner in Pike Place Market.
You've got to draw some lines to maintain what is there.
Yeah, Mary's doing hard work down there.
Yeah, those market executive directors earn their pay. Mm-hmm. We've had some great ones.
Ben.
Ben Friends Night
guy.
before Mary and Carol Binder before Ben. And it's to your original point that we don't, I think, as a community really value and appreciate how unique that place is so true. And what it takes to make it run. I always laugh at how long or thick those documents are of how the all the rules and regulations and the historic it's a very prescribed.
Oh, it's unreal. The hoops you have to jump through. But they'll tell you there's 90 hoops that you're going to have to jump through.
Yeah, so as long
as
you know.
Here's what they are.
Yeah. And
as long as you jump through all of them, then you're going to get thumbs up. And
predictability in running a small business is important, right?
Yeah. And there is no such thing, right? It's predictability.
If you could be like the mayor for a day and have a magic wand to do something to improve the environment for small business is like you in Seattle, what would you do? What would the thing be? Do you have a thing?
I would hire and retain ethical law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Public safety is I think, are key to rebuilding. And I'm not trained at public safety, and my staff isn't trained. And we've seen a lot of people leave the police force, some good ones and some bad ones. And public safety makes everyone feel a little bit more confident on the streets in Seattle. And most important for me, makes my coworkers feel safe.
Yeah.
It's always a little bit scary to have really, really alarming, violent crime incidents happen in our businesses and call SPD. And I think they just don't have enough people to be able to answer the call. And so when I get that call at 2 a.m. that there was a stabbing or somebody's in real duress and major crisis, and we don't know what to do, and I'm home with my children, I don't know what to do, and we called the cops and they didn't come, my heart is full of real compassion for SPD, because I believe Chief Diaz and Chief Best, formerly, are doing the absolute best they can with what they have, and we as a voting public have to have a very holistic view on law enforcement and public safety. It's obviously complicated, but my people need to feel safe.
Yeah, I hear a similar refrain from other small business owners I speak with, and I don't think we fully appreciate the impact that all of this has had on those who are working in small businesses. We've kind of put them on the front lines, right? Of like, hey, your job is to sell ginger beer and protect this establishment, right?
And check vaccination cards.
Right.
And make sure everyone's sanitizing.
Yeah.
And kick them out if they don't have their vaccination card.
Yeah.
And
The
thank
mask
God for
on,
those vaccination cards, that
Yeah.
kept us all so safe. If you were mayor for a day, Jon.
Similar answer. Cities have never worked well if they weren't first safe and welcoming for everybody.
Yeah.
And if we don't get that right, a lot of the other things we're doing just won't matter. And people have more choice today than they ever had before of where to open a business, where to shop, where to eat, where to come for a convention. And we want to choose Seattle. And there's good reason to choose Seattle. But if we don't solve for that, they'll make another decision. So we got to stay focused.
Yep.
And I think the city's more aligned than we have been in some time around that, voters and some, city leadership. So we're making some progress, but
city council race is
not
going to
fast
be
enough.
Fascinating to watch.
Yeah, we have some choices coming up in November. Have you ever thought of running? Have you been asked to run?
I don't have thick enough skin.
Yeah.
It is
Well, you have to have decently thick skin to do what you're doing.
Yeah, and I barely have that.
So what's your favorite ginger beer flavor?
Pink guava.
Pink guava.
Easy. It is.
What's your favorite ginger beer cocktail?
Moscow Mule. But
Yeah.
My business partner in the bars, Kate, and my best friend, she said, vodka's the chicken of meat. And it's true, and I love chicken. It's easy. It plays well with everything. And it's, I would say 90% of our cocktail sales are vodka-based Moscow Mules.
Really?
Yeah, and then hot toddies, of course, with bourbon in the winter.
Huh. I'm a Kentucky Mule guy myself, but
yeah, bourbon's great with ginger beer.
Yeah, terrific.
Because you get that nice caramel with the acid. They
Yeah.
play together really well.
It helps make a nice summer bourbon cocktail.
That
You
too.
go from old fashions in the colder seasons
Right.
to the
Isn't
mules
it funny?
in the summer.
Old fashioned doesn't sound as good in the summer
I
as
know.
it
I
sounds
still
in
drink
the
them,
winter.
but it's a Kentucky Mule and a little grapefruit juice and doctored up in a couple other ways. But
Yep,
a good ginger beer in there makes it refreshing.
it's good stuff.
Are your kids ginger beer drinkers?
They are. Thank goodness.
How many
That'd be a
are
real
they
drag.
allowed to drink a day?
Oh, as much as they want. Which means they never drink it. I always, when we're running errands, I always want to. It's a high priority to me to pop into our businesses and give everyone a high five. I'm not there to scare anyone because I was a waiter for so long, and it was always so awful when the owner would walk in and terrify everyone. So I have a hard policy against the
Do you warn them that
looking.
you're coming?
No, I do the pop in, but I'm there to tip big and give high fives.
Yeah.
But I'm like, boys, come on, let's go get soft serve. Or,
Yeah.
let's go get a ginger beer. No. We want to go to Hello Robin and get a cookie. So we'll go to Hello Robin and get a cookie.
How do you spend your typical day? Is there a typical day?
Yes. I drop my kids off at 8 o'clock in the morning at school, and then I try to hit all 6 joints every day. We purposefully don't have central offices. We have a big production facility down in South Park, south of Georgetown, and there's some crummy offices there because it's a warehouse. But all of our leadership team works basically from our cars and our laptops in our businesses because I think it's just so important to be in there and smell it and feel it.
Yeah.
And to me, the most important thing about a dining experience, other than the food or drink that you're consuming, is the lights and the music. And those are so often overlooked. And
Couldn't agree more.
it drives me crazy.
A lot of bad lighting in this city,
Oh, it's so bad. And I think people just forget about it because they're in their offices or they're busy doing other things. And it's incredible how that can make or break a dining experience.
You mentioned Matt's in the Market earlier, and I was there on, whatever night, Wednesday. And I was remarking on their great lighting.
Yes.
Over the kitchen, and you watch people work. It was like a little stage there, like a little food stage.
Yeah, and you got Matt Fortner back there looking handsome and nice.
It was terrific. And the lighting, made a big difference.
It's so crazy, though, how it changes the experience.
Yeah.
And, the music, too.
Yep.
And it's so important.
I can't remember how we got there. Oh, your typical day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to 6 places a day?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so I drive all over, and my car plugs in, so I don't feel too guilty about that, I guess.
Yeah. Good for you.
But it's
covering some territory.
You just notice. You notice the dust, and also I get to see our guests. And to me, the reason that I have stayed in this business for so long, and I've said this before, and I'll say it till I'm 6 feet under, we have this unbelievable power in the hospitality industry to transform a person's day. And I know that sounds really heady and dumb, but think about a day like today here in Seattle. It's rainy and dark and it's February and everyone's credit card bills just came in from the holidays and they're not feeling great and they hate their partner and they're looking at CNN and it's not looking good. We have this power to watch you walk through the door, and in 30 seconds is all it takes. I can give you a drink. I can take an interest in your day. I can send you back out into the world feeling these warm fuzzies that you weren't feeling before you walked in. And that, to me, is what creates a customer for life. And that's what makes me a customer for life at all the places I go to. Think of your coffee shop and your bar and your grocery store. And it's the people who remember your order, who are nice to your kids, who are just generally kind, take an interest. They don't have to talk to you for 20 minutes because that's annoying too. That's what is so special about hospitality. And these guests that we have, that we came to us 12 years ago, and we've nurtured these relationships. And I follow them on Instagram, and I comment on their dog photos and their cookie photo, whatever. Because my goal is to create a 30-year customer. And I believe that, absolutely in my core. That is what's so special about hospitality, and that's why I'm always trying to be in the businesses. I'll see a guest I haven't seen in 10 years, and their kid all of a sudden is 10 years old. Or people that were going through chemo treatment that came to us early in the farmers markets that didn't have, any hair, and they were drinking ginger beer because it made their stomach feel better because of all the ginger. And now 10 years later, I see them and they're thriving. That is the most special thing in the world to me. I love it. Millions of dollars are very different than that personal connection that we have with those guests. And I have to have that. It feeds my soul as well.
I love that. And it sounds like you're in the right line of work too.
I don't know what else would I be doing?
No, it's the power to delight and the opportunity to connect.
Through something so small as food or beverage.
I think we all want that, right? And I love that.
Yeah, and you can change lives with food and beverage. It's incredible. It's a very Oprah statement, but it's true.
It's what I love about living downtown or, just living in any kind of urban neighborhood where you've got operators that you get to know and they get to know you, and you've got this network of relationships of the bartender and the shopkeeper. And those, I think, are important for our mental health, right? And
absolutely. Yeah, we can't just stay home and watch Netflix all the time.
Yeah.
We need to connect. Humans, we're social by nature. We need to connect.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way about kind of needing to be out in downtown and, at the show, at the restaurant, at the bar, my energy, and I become like codependent emotionally on just with downtown, the health.
I follow you on Instagram and you're in the mix.
I like to be, I just need it from my own, energy. And
that's
sometimes when the streets are too quiet, then I'm like, oh dear, okay. But my emotions are sort of
raining.
like directly connected to the energy downtown, for good or bad, I guess. But
that was ripped from us during
oh
COVID.
Boy,
and
I was a mess.
Once again, there was no playbook
and there was lots
for
of people that had it worse than I did, certainly, and I was pretty fortunate throughout. But to not be able to connect and feel energized and participate in that way was really difficult.
And I think also those guests love knowing that they're supporting small businesses. That feels really good.
Yeah. And it's great to see so many that have made it through, that have their doors open, that are, that are back.
Thanks to the Biden administration.
Yeah. Thanks to a lot of people and a lot of action, locally and nationally.
Yep.
So we conclude our podcast, Rachel, with the question of what is your perfect Saturday in Seattle? We covered your typical day, but what's your perfect Saturday in Seattle if you could design it from beginning to end?
As a parent?
As a human being.
Ooh.
You get to define it anyway, so you can be kid-free that day. Okay. You can be parenting. You get to define it.
Okay. I would get on my bicycle. I live in Seward Park. I have an e-bike that I love. Mm-hmm. So I would ride 12 miles down by the lake. I would come home. I would take my kids to Seattle Center, to the Pacific Science Center. We'd go to the IMAX, watch a really cool Nat Geo movie, go to that incredible playground out there. My kids are obsessed with it. Get a $15 hot dog, come home, kick them out the door, and I would go to a show at the Showbox. Mm-hmm. I saw the Chemical Brothers are coming to WAMU Theater, but Chemical Brothers are coming. That's so rad. So
Great to have music back.
Go to the Showbox. I would go get a drink at Old Bistro. I'd be home in bed by 10. That's not possible. Not with a show at the Showbox.
Yeah, I don't think that show's ending by 10, but otherwise, that seems like a great day.
Roll through Nordstrom, see what's up. Say hi to Keaton. Yeah.
Love it. That's a great Seattle day. And your kids would be out on the lawn waiting for you. You said kick the kids out of the house. They'd be out waiting on the lawn for you when you come back at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, with the babysitter that we don't have. Okay. Babysitter, nanny, what? They'd be, I don't know. We'll figure them out.
Yeah.
Someday they'll be home, old enough to be home alone. My 9-year-old Wyatt is pretty confident that he should be home alone.
Getting there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for making time for this.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to have a Kentucky Mule later this afternoon and ring in the weekend.
Thanks for doing all the hard work downtown.
All of us, yeah. It's a community of people
very
who
grateful.
Care about this great place. And it's great because of people like you who are innovative and make cool things and take risks like you did when you were 28 to make something cool and show up and stick with it at the farmer's market and other places. So thank you.
But it's the city of Seattle that consumes it. They buy $6 soda.
And aren't we lucky?
Pretty unbelievable.
To be able to do it.
Thank you, Seattle.
Yeah, thank you, Seattle. Well, hope you enjoyed my conversation with Rachel Marshall. Just a terrific entrepreneur and business leader in our city. Grateful for what she's created and her grit and guts to take some risk and make something cool that now we all just get to enjoy. And keep your eyes on Rachel's Ginger Beer for, I think, some upcoming announcements on maybe an expanded location. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but keep your eyes on our GB and go out and get yourself some good ginger beer. Well, I want to close out, as I do each and every episode, with a recommendation of what you just can't miss in downtown Seattle. And this could be something new, something reopened, and in this case, something that will soon open, which is Wonder. It's WNDR. I think it's pronounced Wonder. It's a interactive digital art experience that's coming to Seattle, coming down to the waterfront at Alaskan and Marion. It started in San Diego and now is making its way north, and also looks like they're going to be in Chicago and Boston. And if you got to or didn't, but know about the Van Gogh interactive exhibit that was down in Soto for some time, I think similar kind of offering here. It looks super, super cool. And tickets are available at wondermuseum.com. That's WNDRmuseum.com. And you can buy tickets that will get you in. And it's a pretty good value, $32 on general admission. Kids 2 and under are free. Kids 3 to 12 are $22. They also are offering a VIP experience for $50. So check out wondermuseum.com. And it opens late March. It looks super, super cool down on Seattle's waterfront. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for this episode of Seattle City Makers, presented by the Downtown Seattle Association with support from James Cito and production by Spark Creative.